Welcome to Leads and Leverage, Real Estate Team Leader Lounge, where success in real estate meets passion-driven leadership. I'm your host, Tyler Gibson. I'm an entrepreneur, real estate team leader, and investor, and I'm thrilled to have you join us in the ultimate hub for real estate excellence. In this exclusive lounge, we're diving deep into strategies, tactics, and stories that fuel the success of real estate teams. Whether you're a seasoned pro looking to take your leadership skills to new heights or an aspiring entrepreneur ready to build your own powerhouse team, this podcast is your go-to resource for insider insights and actionable advice. Get ready to hear from top experts, industry pioneers, and real-world achievers who are making waves in the real estate world. We'll explore the best practices, share invaluable lessons learned, and equip you with tools you need to thrive in today's competitive market. Welcome to the lounge where leaders are made and success is earned. Come on in to the Real Estate Team Leader Lounge. Hello and welcome to another episode of Leads and Leverage. I'm so excited to have Aaron West with me here today. He is an agent with a team out of California, and he has gotten out of production, which I think for many team leaders that want to become true business owners, that's the goal, to get out of production. So thank you for being here today, Aaron.
It's truly my pleasure. Nice to be here.
Well, I'm excited to hear about your journey in real estate. I know that you do a lot of different things now that you've got a little more time freedom, but tell me a little bit about how you got started in real estate and a little bit of the evolution of the team. We don't have to take a ton of time on it, but kind of where it started and where you're at today.
You bet. So I was in the jewelry industry for about 10 years and had achieved a lot of success in that. And 2005, the market was going crazy, and it was really the peak of the market. And my wife and I were talking about buying a new home, putting a deposit on a new home, and then flipping it. At that time, 8 months later, when the home was built, you were able to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And my father-in-law, who's been in real estate since the early 80s, when we told him what our plan was, he said, "Don't do it." He said, "If you want to build wealth in real estate, you need to be in real estate." And he said this: "I wouldn't wish real estate on my worst enemy, but you should be in real estate, Aaron." And so in 2005 with what was Landon? Landon was 3 and Ewan was 1. So I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old and a wife that was home with the boys. I quit a job that was making $130,000 a year, cold turkey, and got into real estate. And
wow.
So it was quite the roller coaster ride. I had a couple of easy sales, and then the market started to turn. And in hindsight, it was the biggest blessing there could have been, because I had to earn the right to be successful. And so I slogged through 08, 09, 2010. I chose not to represent the banks because I understood that anybody who had a bank as a client, it was really their only client. And I knew that this was a season. And so when that season was over, they were going to have to restart their business. And so I stayed just conventional, working with buyers and sellers, primarily buyers, and then started having a lot of success. I think in 2013 or 2014, I sold 75 buyers all by myself. It was myself and an assistant. And I remember at the end of the year going, I am never going to work that hard again for the rest of my life. And in 2015, I hired my now COO of the company as an assistant. But when I hired him for the role of someone who was going to grow into to be my, in EOS terms, my integrator. And then brought on one agent in 15, one agent in 16, and then have grown now to where we have seven full-time agents, and I'm out of production. And we've been in the top 10 mid-sized real estate teams in California for the past 5 or 6 years.
Wow. That's incredible. So I love the fact that you slogged through one of the hardest times in real estate, right? I mean, because I got started 5 years ago, right before COVID. COVID happened. It was easy pickings for a lot of folks, right? You still had to be good, but it wasn't super hard to find a buyer that you could go work with. during that time, and I've talked to my lender partner who was in the business at the time doing mortgages. He said no, almost nobody could qualify for a mortgage. So you basically had a lot of times had to have an all cash buyer. How do you go? How do you go
Well,
about surviving in a market like that?
actually, I think the market we've had the last 3 years is way harder
Okay,
because the difference is that we had a ton of inventory. So it
right.
wasn't a matter of, finding a buyer and then searching for a house. It was find a buyer, go put them in escrow into a house. So as soon as you had a buyer and they were qualified and they understood the market and you walked them through all of the important things about buying a home and they went out and bought a house, it was a fairly short period. And the market that we're in today is a transactional recession. So you have buyers that want to buy, but there aren't a lot of sellers that want to sell. And so interest rates are super high. So it doesn't make sense for people to move up, and buyers, it's so much harder to qualify for where home prices are right now. Having been through both markets, I would have taken the market 07, 08, 09 only because you were able to get momentum. And even though the home prices were a quarter of what they are today, you could do the volume of people if you just did the work. And now, my team and all of us are doing twice the work for, 2/3 or half of the business that we were doing before.
Wow. Talk to me a little bit about the team today and how you have it structured. You're completely removed from production, which is incredible. So you get to focus on the business. Do you guys have a particular lead strategy? I noticed on your Facebook profile that at one point you were involved with Ninja Selling, and that's a super relational approach to real estate. So how do you guys approach generating business? And is it that Ninja approach, or are you guys doing some marketing stuff too?
It's the Brian Buffini approach at our core. When I got into real estate, I was fortunate enough to have some relationships with people from that jewelry industry that trusted me with, a fairly big purchase. And I knew it was just a matter of time if I stayed consistent and showed that I was a professional to transfer those relationships to real estate. And so I really focused on that. We do, we were Zillow Flex for a while. We get HomeLight and Fast Expert. And I mean, we have other lead sources, but the majority of our business is either through Google local services. We've been really intentional about getting a lot of 5-star reviews. So we get a bunch of organic business from Google local services and then our database. And then it's just, we get a ton of agent referrals as well, because I'm intentional about putting ourselves out there to the agents in the market so that they know that they have somebody in the Central Valley they can trust.
That's cool. And so talk to me about when you first started the team. You said that you hired somebody that was your assistant, but you knew that they were going to become your integrator. Talk to me a little bit about that. I mean, I think most people go out and, they get an assistant, an admin, and then usually they're hiring a buyer's agent. Was that still the same kind of approach, or was your thought process totally different?
Yeah, and let me back up for just a second about starting a team. I think that
Okay.
there's 4 reasons that people start a team, and 3 of them are wrong. And there's one reason to 1.5 to really start a team. The first reason people start a team is just ego. They get to a place and they want to have a team because they want to be able to say they have the team and be the rainmaker and be the hero and be all of those things. And you'll see a lot of those where the team leader is really put up on this pedestal and everybody there is just to support the team leader. And that's the second kind of team is one where you join because you're a true business person, or you start a team because you're a true business person and you understand business. And so you understand systems and you build out a team from that. And that's a rarity in real estate for someone to actually do that. The third kind of team, which is the reason I started my team, is because I had too many leads for me to handle myself. And for most people, that's the point that you need to be to start building a team, because you have to be able, as you grow as a leader, as your business grows, you have to be able to support the people and be able to provide value to them And when you first start a team, you don't know how to provide value. So the place that you provide value is leads for most people. And so a lot of people will buy leads and they keep people busy, but it's not necessarily the right way to build a team. And then the fourth reason people build a team is just because they hear that you should have a team. And so they're like, I think I'm going to start a team. And they really have no idea what that looks like or what those systems look like. So when I had 2013 and 2014, where I was working, I've always taken Sundays off. I've worked 2 Sundays in my entire real estate career. That was just a non-negotiable for me. And both of those Sundays were a mistake. So I knew I was just going to stick with that. But I was working 6 days a week, from 7:30 in the morning till 8:30 or 9 o'clock, if that's what I needed to do. I mean, I was working half days, basically, 12 hours plus an hour or two. And I just decided that wasn't sustainable for me. And I wasn't able to lead a both and life. It was either real estate or, whatever else was in my life. And so I'd had an assistant since 2000. About a year and a half into real estate, I got an assistant because I understood the value of leverage and being able to put all of those things off. But in 2015, I made the intentional decision that I was going to build a team. And when I lost my assistant, she got pregnant and had a baby and decided not to come back. I was very specific about who I was hiring as my assistant. I think I interviewed 25 people before I narrowed it down to 3. All 3 were amazing 4 different times in my career. One was a GSD, get stuff done girl, who, if I'd have brought her on at the beginning of my career, I would have been way faster sooner. She was amazing. The other was someone who was older, had been an agent, and then also been an assistant for a long time. And then there was Mike Mendonça, who was young, analytical, really understood systems. And I knew, being a visionary and being a create, execute person. In other words, I like coming up with the idea, getting the ball going, and then just shaking my hands, walking away and saying, let me know when it's done and I'll tell you if it's done right or not. That I needed that person who was more systems oriented if I was going to build a business. And so I brought on Mike and then Chris, who is still with me. 2 of my first 2 agents have been with me. They're coming up on 10 years now, which I take as a, huge compliment and testament to the growth that I've experienced over those 10 years, that I've been able to provide value and create a world that they've been able to live in for that long. So I brought on Mike and Chris, and then really just knew that I wanted to get out of production and just started making the commitment of, it started with, I wasn't going to help any buyers under, I'll pick a number, 250,000. So anything that came in under 250,000 went to Chris or Chris and Sung, when Sung came on a few months later. And then as that gave me a little bit more time to work on the business, and now my head was right at grass level, I was like, okay, let's change that number to 400. And then I went to, I'm just not going to help buyers anymore. And I made the commitment that it didn't matter to me if a friend of mine called and said, I found a house that I want and it's $1.2 million. I was going to hand it off to them. Because in my mind, the way that I look at a team leader is that when you're in production, you're competing with your team. You're actually taking the best leads, you're taking the best buyers, and you're giving them what's left over. And if you really want to have someone bought into your business, you want them to know that their success is really important to you. And when you're willing to give up something like $1 million buyer, they know that you're vested in their success. And then from there, I brought on a full-time listing agent. I had someone come on the team who was a total type A, analytical but sharp, not a whole lot of emotional intelligence, but just enough to where he was good at closing. And so in 2020, I guess, is when I stepped out of production. And we had him for about 2.5 years. And then just on me, I take ownership of this. There was some toxicity that was allowed into the team that just really put us in a bad place. And so he left, 2 other agents left at the same time. That was 1.5 years ago. and it just totally transformed our team into where we have just an amazing culture of professionals who just work really hard.
Wow. That's cool. So is the plan to keep it small and mighty? Do you want to, teach more people about real estate? Kind of where does the team lie in future plans?
I see us growing bigger, but there's this messy. I have a lot of friends who are agents that have big teams, and you either have to, and from my experience and from talking to them and just observing a lot of different teams and a lot of different ways that people do business, it seems like you either have to stay small and keep culture or go big and become a numbers game. And 7 right now, I think we'll probably end up. I literally just had this conversation with my operations manager and my two leadership guys, the salesmen that are on my leadership team. And we're planning on hiring, want to bring on 3 more agents this year with the hopes that we keep 1 or 2 of them and then just continue to add to the culture that we have, because we've built a culture now where everybody supports everybody. So when a new person comes on, they have 7 people to talk to. It's not just me. It's not just my operations manager. Everybody is vested in everybody's success, which is, I'm super proud of the fact that we've been able to create that kind of environment. So we'll probably get bigger, but we won't be a 20-person team. I don't see that in the foreseeable future.
Gotcha. Talk to me a little bit about hiring. Where do you go about hiring agents? Where do you find these people that you go, well, I think you might be a good cultural fit?
That's a great question. And I am a huge believer in stealing all that is good from everybody else and making it your own. And Keller Williams has a really great hiring system that they use. And I remember the first time I took it, because I've taken it a few times. The first time I took it was Ben Kenny, who's up in Washington and has a huge business with Side and Brivity and a bunch of other stuff. But he was teaching the class and he said, I hear people say, oh, I've got a 1 in a million agent or 1 in 1,000 agent. But unless you've interviewed 1,000 people, you really don't know if that agent is a 1 in 1,000 agent. And so we're just, when we're looking, we make it a priority. I just had a conversation with my coach I let this last week about deciding that we're going to start bringing on some more agents. And so we're looking as a team, everybody on the team wants to have 2 new agents or 3 new agents, because the bigger the team is, the more business the team does, the more business the team attracts as well. And so they understand that concept. So there isn't any jealousy. And they're all out looking right now. Most of the people that have been brought on the team have come from agents on the team recommending somebody, or a lender saying, this agent I think would be really good working under your stewardship and with your guidance. And so it's almost still a referral based business to be able to build a team, or at least that's what I've done, because I don't want to burn through 12 people to find 1 or 2. I'd rather find 1 or 2 agents that are going to be good on the slow burn of finding them, and then creating monsters in real estate that are just super professionals that work really hard, that are highly accountable, that fit into the team structure and understand the importance of all of those dynamics.
Yeah. You said something. You said turning them into monsters. What's your approach to turning these people into monsters?
We talked about this a little bit before I came on. I am a huge fanatical goal setter, and it is one of my areas of core mastery now, is understanding the difference between the kinds of goals that you write, how to write them so that they go into your brain, how they become trackable goals, or how you create trackable goals. So on our team, I don't create goals for the team. We do a goal writing session as a team every single year. They set their goals, and then we hold them capable to those goals that they set. And when they set a goal of 25 transactions, let's say, that's not a goal. I want to sell 25, or selling 25 transactions in 2025 is not a goal. That's a result that you are trying to achieve from achieving the goals that you have to achieve to end up with that result. So how many calls are you going to make? How many notes are you going to do? How many open houses are you going to do? How many door knocking around those open houses are you going to do? All of those numbers, if you pay attention to them with the systems, 25 is an inevitability. If we know that if we want to do 150 transactions this year, we've got to do 48,000 phone calls as a team, which translates to about 120 phone calls per person per week for the year. So once you understand that, then it becomes a matter of just having weekly meetings saying, where are you at? How can I support you? What can we do to help you be successful? And I have some agents that excel in some areas and then really struggle in others. And then another agent is the exact opposite of that. So it's really just a matter of really understanding what's important to them. I heard once that to have a successful team, your world has to be so big that they can have their world inside of your world. So we talk about finances. I know the net worth and the finances of every single person on my team. I know all about their families. We do team events tonight. We're going and we're doing a painting party with everybody on the team, and we're all going to paint a butterfly. I think. I don't know how that's going to go, but we're going to do it. So it's really about, because I'm not a hunter anymore and
Right.
I'm a gardener now, and my job is to garden the beautiful plants that are my partners on the team and help them grow into this beautiful flowering bush that puts off a ton of fruit.
Yeah, that's incredible. I like that. I could definitely get better at helping my team members set better goals. So
I don't think there's anything more important than going off site with your team and having them write goals about their whole life, their family, their adventures that they're going to do, the people they're going to hang around with, what self-help they're going to do, what they want to do financially, what they want to do business. We do a 2-day retreat every year with my team, and we literally walk through each one of those as a team. Everybody shares what their goals are for everything, and now they know where they mesh or what's important to them, and they steal each other's goals. It is a true game changer if you're looking for culture, and knowing what's important to your team is just knowing what their goals are.
Yeah. You mentioned checking in. Are you checking in with your team members on an individual basis about their goals, or are you guys doing a group check-in and, how's everybody doing and more group accountability?
So our structure looks like this. Our Monday morning meeting, everybody reports their numbers from the previous week, how many calls they've done, open houses, new escrows, closed escrows, listings, all of that kind of stuff. And then we do a book review every single week. So our Monday meeting is an hour, a half hour of everybody reporting everything. At the end of that first half hour, everybody says what's their one goal that they want to accomplish this week, what's their one wildly important goal, and then we partner up with someone. So every week, everybody is partnered up with someone else who's holding them accountable. They're holding each other capable to whatever that is. So if it's 150 phone calls, they're going to be checking in. Our lender shows up to our team meeting every week, and she is trying to get in the habit of doing her 5 tasks before she opens her email. So I have an alarm set for 9:00 every morning where I text her and I say, did you do your tasks first? And if she says no, I say, okay, when are you going to do your tasks? So there's this team accountability that happens on a weekly basis. And then I do individually meet with the team every 2 weeks. We'll sit down. If I'm not traveling, every 2 weeks we sit down and we go over where they are in their goals, where they are in their business, where they are financially, about once a month. And then my operations manager meets with everybody individually after the team meeting and goes over their business. Where are their leads? Are their leads updated? Do they have any new leads? Where they are in the pipeline? So he's able to see, because he's the integrator on the business side of things, all of the metrics. I'm there to help out with their life to make sure that they're leading a good big life.
So cool, man. I
And
need
we
to
have a
build
bunch
that.
of other training too. What?
I said, man, I need to build that.
Well, and that's the thing that I think is missed when people start a team is They don't understand that, and not saying that you don't, but for a lot of agents, that it's all about systems. Because if you are taking a split from your team, you have to provide more value than what they're being charged. It's just that simple. And so the place that you provide value is culture, leads, accountability, and systems. My good friend Daniel Del Real calls it class. Cultures, leads, accountability, and systems. So if you are having a breakdown in your team, most of the time, one of those 4 areas is lacking. And if you understand that, you've got to go in and fix it, or you're going to lose your team. And that's why you see a lot of people turn over. Leads may be there, accountability is there, systems are there, but the culture is horrible. So people roll out of it because they're like, I can't be in this culture. Or you can pick any of them and see a reason why somebody would leave. So you have to be intentional about going, okay, I have to provide class to my team. Where is it lacking right now? And then just putting the intentionality behind it to start creating those systems and taking it from a 5 to a 6 or a 6 to a 7, whatever that looks like, as long as it's just always moving up and not staying where it is.
Yeah. Wow. So many great gems today. And we've been at it for a few minutes, so I want to be respectful of your time. Any final thoughts or piece of advice you'd give to somebody that's either starting a team or thinking about starting a team as we kind of wrap up?
Well, I would say this: don't start a team until you have to start a team. Don't start a team because you don't want to work and when you haven't put in the work yourself. Because if you're a team leader and you haven't put in the work yourself, you need to have everything else really, really dialed, because your team looks at you as the person who is the person that they're emulating. So if you haven't done the work, you can't expect them to do the work. And if you don't show up, you can't expect them to show up. And then understand that it's all about systems. So if you start a team and you don't have an integrator or someone, or you're not an integrator to where you can put the systems in place to support them, you're going to have a really hard time keeping people or being profitable. I think that the other thing too that a lot of team leaders miss is that we do this business to be profitable. So we have to be able to provide enough value that we're profitable. And that means making sure that the split is profitable for the business, that it's fair to the other agent for the amount of service that you provide. If you're on a 10%, 90% split to the team, you can't afford to provide a lot of service to them because it's not profitable. You're not making any money. So understanding what the math looks like as well, to where when you bring a new agent on and you say, this is your split, they say, oh, I see the value. Because if they don't, they're either going to be hitting you up for a higher split, or they're going to leave to someone who is providing the value that they want to. So it's I wouldn't do anything else. I've made a lot of mistakes. When everybody gets on these podcasts and they talk about all the great things that they did, and I have made some colossal blunders that, have been really, really tough to swallow, but have also, created the lessons to where we have the business that we have right now.
Yeah. You can't be afraid to make a mistake when you're trying to build a team. And I think it can be really challenging because if you're smart, you are trying to build culture, and it's a fragile thing. And so you're trying to build the airplane while you're flying it.
Winners lose way more than losers, because winners lose and they get back up and they get beat again and they get beat again and they beat again, and eventually they win. And losers go in and lose once and they just stop because they lost.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for being here with us today. And thank you to everyone that tuned in to Leads and Leverage this time. We'll catch you all next time. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Leads and Leverage. I hope you found our conversation insightful and actionable. Remember, success in real estate is not just about transactions. It's about the relationships you build, the teams you lead, and the impact you make in the lives of others. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay connected with our community of real estate leaders and entrepreneurs, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us bring you more valuable content and guests. Don't forget to visit our website, gpghome.com/leads and leverage for additional resources, show notes, and exclusive updates. You can also follow me on Instagram at real_Tyler Gibson to join the conversation and connect with like-minded individuals. See you next week.